So, hello and welcome to the Joomla testing session. Who in this room has ever had contact with testing? All of kinds of testing. Okay, that's a lot of people. You can actually now walk out because it's mostly not for you. Bye. So, what is testing about? Why do we need testing? A lot of you probably remember that update from 3.4 to 3.4.7. We had a range of patches there. And why? We had no tests. And we're still working hard to get more tests done for Joomla, because testing helps us to deliver a better and reliable application. It helps us to validate that there are no BC breaks. It helps us to make sure that our application runs as expected. And it helps us to trust our own code. Maybe you know when you write some code, a lot of it, you can never be sure that it works for everything. You can't even if it is testable. Yeah, I know, Marco, you can. But you write no code, so.
That's a safe
So it makes us a safety net. It makes us helping in trusting our own code. And it makes debugging much easier too. So what do we have in Joomla? In Joomla we have done a lot in the last years. Niels, who's sitting here in the front, had some part on it, but there were a lot of people who actually worked on that. Back 5 years ago, we did not have much on that. And we had a lot of problems without them. And in this time, a lot of things were detected by tests. So you see there's a big list of things we are testing in Joomla actually now. And there's some other stuff which will come in the next years, months. And we are looking forward for everyone in this room to contribute to that, because having a valid testing base makes our product, makes Joomla so much better. In Joomla we have this automated testing teams. Some of the members are actually sitting here. This is from the code sprint last year in Karlsruhe at 1&1. But there are a lot of more people actually contributing to it. So let's begin with the tests we can do for Joomla, or you can do for your own products. So let's start with unit testing. As the picture is telling, it's about small parts. In a unit test, you really only test some lines of code. Not all the code, not the code together, but just a simple part of it. Let's look at this nice method here. It's a really easy method. It actually just returns true if the number given is 42, and else it returns false. Who actually had ever written a unit test, a PHPUnit or some other sort of unit test here? Oh, that's still a lot of people. So, how should a test look like for that? Let's look at that. We have a test case, which extends the PHPUnit framework. That's the most common testing framework. There's some alternatives. I will talk on one later. We mostly in Joomla use for system tests. And if you look at the test, we assert true when we give the function a 42, and we assume false if we give any other number on that. Looks fine, looks easy to go. Actually, you should have one assertion per test in reality and not do it like that, but it would be more code. But that's it. So maybe we can now assume that the method is working correctly, but we can't assume that it is bug-free, because unit tests can never tell that there are no bugs. It can just tell that it works as it should, hopefully. But the reality is different. In Joomla, it's even worse. let's look at that code. See, when we get an array for the number, we throw an exception. If we do check if it is numeric, we do something else which is not in here. We check for binary, hexadecimal, and some other stuff. And we have another option. If it's 13, it's something else. And if it's 666, then 2. So how many unit tests could we actually write for that sort of code? Anyone has an idea? All right, it's a bit less, because we actually have also to test, for example, this stuff, and we have nested control structures which will make it
So about 500 unit tests for this one.
Yeah, that sounds good. So that's a good number. So as you heard, that's more work than writing this function at all. It will be really hard to do tests for this sort of code. So this is why we need unit testing, because it forces us to write better code, to write testable code at all. Unit testing is also some sort of documentation. With unit testing, you see, most of the people here should have seen an output of unit testing. You can see what happens and what functions do, and it verifies the design. But for me, the most important part is it forces you to write better code, simpler code. And it allows your code to be reused, refactored, and all that stuff. And unit tests are fast. In Joomla, we have around 6,000, and they are really fast compared to other testing. So, but there are also some drawbacks in Joomla, especially for extension developers, or when you write something else. Why? It does not show the absence of errors. And it's really hard to test this code as we saw before. So when the code base is not written in conjunction with testing, it's really hard to do that after the code already exists. When the code exists, you have a lot of work writing unit tests for it, because you actually often have to refactor the code to get that done. Let's take a look at unit tests in Joomla. In the Joomla CMS, you know, at GitHub, we have a folder tests, and in it we have a folder unit. And in it we have the unit test files. It actually is a project which started like 4 years ago, and we have a bit of coverage, but you will see soon how much we have. And the tests are run like that. It's like executing the PHPUnit command. There's a config lying inside the Joomla folder. And as you can see, the output is like that. And if everything passed, it's OK. You see we have 10,526 assertions here. So, but when you look at the coverage for Joomla, it's not that good at all. And we actually skipped a lot of folders because they would be even worse or don't have any cover. You see, we only list the administrator folder. Here's the libraries folder and the plugins folder. Why? Because the rest is not really testable in Joomla. It's a big thing. Niels is working on it on Joomla X. And Joomla 4 will hopefully also bring some benefits like dependency injection. So we don't have to use so many stubs, mock objects, and so on. And so testing will become more easy. So how do you run them? You first clone the Joomla CMS repository from GitHub. In this case, I just clone with step 1 because you don't need all the history if you just want to run the unit tests on staging. You navigate to it. You do a composer install, which will get you all the dependencies for development, including PHPUnit. And after that, you can just run libraries vendor bin PHPUnit. And you actually see the result instant. So it's really not hard to run. So everybody can start on that before doing a pull request. We also have some automated stuff on that, but we see into that later. So you see, it does not have a good value for extension developers for me. We did that on certain components, but in the end, you should do unit tests, but only for your business logic, and not for things which use JFactory or the database layer and a lot of other stuff, because it's just no fun. To run it in extensions requires you to bootstrap a lot. That bootstrap file, you can, for example, find it in the web links repository, is around 1,000 lines just for making unit tests run. And you did not even mock JFactory, JInput, and all the other stuff we have there then. So it's a hard one. For Joomla, we need more on that, but for testing extensions, currently it's not. I hope that will get better, or now it will get better with Joomla X. So here's the same again. And for all these ones who don't want to go that way, or which don't even know how to code PHP, or not so good, there's one way to actually do tests, and these are the system tests. It was what we focused in the last years in the automated testing team. Why? Because they're easy to set up. Anyone can contribute without bigger knowledge. And you can use them for anything. You can even use them for sites you don't have access to the code. That's a cool thing on system tests. Let's see how they work. In the system testing, we test against the installed and running application. So the first thing is we need a running Joomla instance. We can even automate that, and did that already. And we do it in a browser, in a real browser, like, for example, Firefox. But you also can use Chrome, even Microsoft Edge, and some other browsers. Most browser providers nowadays support or provide an WebDriver for the browser, which makes it really easy compared to when it started 5 years ago. What's the benefit of that? We actually test the whole application. We don't test small parts, but we test the result of all the parts coming together. And we have real-world tests, like the user has. So we do the same like the user does. We click around, we do stuff. And we test more code of lines without less works. But as I said, it's not either unit testing or system testing. You should do both, if possible. So here's that versus. It's not in the end and versus, it's an and. So unit tests focus on code, framework code in Joomla mostly, and some other stuff around that. And the system tests focusing on the point of the user. We are also searching for PHP notices, errors there, but we search also for functionality. That's a big word on system tests. And we also cover stuff unit tests can't cover, like CSS, JavaScript, and all the other areas we have there. So let's take a look how they are in Joomla. We actually had a Google Summer of Code project here this year. The student from that sits here in that room. She did a great work bringing a lot of tests and a new architecture to Joomla. We had 3 admins, Niels, Javi, who is not there, and me. And we worked like 4 months on that new project. And we started from scratch with a new architecture supporting Gherkin. Gherkin is some sort of expression language, business language, which makes writing, or at least providing tests, easier. Why? The business logic can be written by, as a business language can be written by everyone, not only programmers. At least this is a target we have. So in this project, we covered COM users and COM content, and we have an upcoming code sprint in December, where we will do more on that and have some other areas covered too. And we hope that at the end of the year we provide a good coverage of the whole Joomla CMS system. Let's take a look how tests are actually looking out, or how you run them. So, time for a video. So as you can see, we have an open terminal here. It's an Ubuntu Linux, but you can do it on every system. And we just run our wrapper script. It's a robo-lee script. And it actually just starts Codeception and Selenium. And as you can see, it enters things for you in the browser automatically. So you set up the tests once, and so you can run them forever. That's the goal in that. And if you look at that, we do cover a lot of code here. We open so many lines of code. We run through them. And this is something you can also do for your extensions. So if you're an extension developer, you can use this too. You can start with what we have now, and then adjust to your components, run through them automatically, and test if they still work. It's a great thing, which is really providing you a lot, and it's providing you a big safety net. So it's not a so long video, but I skip the rest, I think. We are just publishing, we are just doing publishing, unpublishing, creating of articles and content here. And that's it. So that's a cool thing. You do actually test real stuff. So what software do we use? We use Codeception. Codeception is a PHP project which is very popular nowadays. It's written by a guy called Michael Bratnochuk, also called David. He was at the last J and Beyond, for example. We met him there. He wrote that framework to make testing easier, mostly focused on system testing, but also on some other parts. So it's a great framework to easily integrate tests into your extensions, into your products. You can even use it with other software, not only with Joomla. You can also write tests for third-party websites or the websites of your customer. A lot of people actually do that nowadays. After Joomla updates, they can test this way that the website is still working. They just look through all pages they have. And we have around 12 Joomla updates a year. So if you can automate that stuff, or at least a part of that, and you have 50 customer websites, this is going to really save you time. Selenium is a WebDriver project in there. Selenium is a part which is Codeception uses to automate that browser. So really popular software too. And we use a Firefox, and given when is Gherkin actually. So how to run them? We have a GShock repository for now. They will be in core hopefully at the end of the year. It's not on the code that they are not already in there. I talk about that a bit later. But you can test them and try it out and try to use it for your own at this address. These slides are also on SlideShare later, so you can also get the URL from there. So you just start. Oh, sorry, one too far. Let's take a look at a sample Codeception test first. Codeception test looks like that. This one is from web links, actually. We do an administrator create web links, and we get an I from Codeception. And now we can define what we want to do. I want to test web link creation. And we actually have a nice project called Joomla Browser, which all of you can use, which brings common Joomla functionality, common Joomla functions for you to write tests. So for the login in the administrator area, we just do I do administrator login. It takes the credentials out of an YAML file and logs yourself into a Joomla instance. After that, we go to administrator index.php, web links to the extension side. We check for PHP notices and warnings, and we click the toolbar button new. We wait for the text web link new, because a new page opens, we need to wait for that. Then we fill out 2 form fields, 2 text input fields, and click on the button Save and Close. After that, we see the message, web link successfully saved. So if any of this is not working, because something is broken, the test will fail. And this test is run for every pull request, for every change we make in web links, and a lot of others too. So how do you run them? You clone the GitHub repo, you navigate to test Codeception, there's one test too much. We do a composer install, and we configure just one single file where we set our database credentials, the login credentials, and some other stuff. And after that, we just run them with one line of code. It's really easy. And we try to make it even easier. Everyone should be able to write system tests, help with it, and start making it for their own product. So, as you can see, you don't need access for Joomla. You don't even need access to the Joomla code to write system tests. That's a big goal on that. So instead of bootstrapping hundreds of lines of unit tests for Joomla, you can just do system tests. And they're easy to set up. They really do a lot. So it's a big value for extension developers. So we have, since the summer, we have some other tests too. We have JavaScript tests in Joomla. Around 7% of Joomla's code base is actually JavaScript code. It's a lot of it. And in the last years, we did not care much for that. And we had a lot of problems because of that. But with this Google Summer of Code, we actually now have a good coverage of them. So the student, Buchi here, did also a great work on bringing a lot of tests to Joomla. We did complete the whole media system JS folder. And it's also run automated. And they are in car now for some time, like 2 months. And they are also run for every pull request, for every change there. So which software do we use here? We use Karma and Jasmine. These are the most 2 common JavaScript testing libraries. And these tests are also run again in the real browser. There's also projects like Phantom.js, but it's not a real browser, so it's important to have them in Firefox. So how does it look like? This is the result of a test run. And as you can see, we have a coverage here, and we have 196 tests. There are some more now even, because people started contributing there. And you can see how much coverage we have on which files. And you can see all the tests are OK. So when now someone changes code in that, we can make sure nothing breaks because of that. So how do you run them? It's again, in this case, cloning Joomla CMS. You do an npm install, which is a package manager for JavaScript. And then you can just use Karma to start them. It starts your local browser up, and that's it. It's really easy to run too. You can adapt to our work and continue using it in your own extensions. And it's also not important that Joomla's installed there. So they are run not on an installed Joomla installation. They are run on a browser only. So it's really easy to integrate them, have tests too there. So what are the benefits? We don't need to mock Joomla. We don't need a Joomla installation. And they're easy to write and set up, and they are really fast, blazing fast. It just takes like 10 seconds to run them all. So last, or second last, we have code style tests. A lot of people really don't like these. I just can look at some people here now. So as you all know, we have a custom code style in Joomla. So we don't have a general one like PSR, but we have a Joomla one. So all our code, we want to be the same look or the same indentation, the same formatting. Why do we want that? We want that our code looks the same, so it's easy to find errors, so we can communicate with people. Code is about communication too. It's not only about functionality, but also about communicating with other people. We are an open source project. No one stays forever. We have people going and leaving. And if there's no code style, if there's no common agreement on how we should format things, it's really hard to catch up on the work of other people. So we really need that code style, and it's hard, it's tough sometimes to really match that. But actually there's a nice software for that, and that is PHPCS, the PHP code snuffer. There are a lot of other tools you can look at. It's the PHP QA tools. They are mostly written by Sebastian Bergmann and some other people. And we have that coding standard library here, Joomla GitHub IO coding standards. It's a really large document describing how you should format your code. And you actually can use PHPCS also in your IDE, like PHP Storm, NetBeans, or Eclipse. So it shows you when you don't match the code style instantly. Everyone should install that before actually doing a PR or something else.
Someone is not so lazy like me. You will not get merged. Yeah.
So this is how a PHPCS test looks like, and it fails here. And as you can see, we have a missing doc comment here. This guy did not use tabs, and some other stuff. No, it's not yours, Nicola. So PHPCS tells you instantly if your code is formatted right or not. So how do you run that PHPCS sniffer checks? Once, it's better to integrate them into your IDE. I would suggest that to everyone. So you clone again Joomla, you do an composer install again, and then you can just run PHPCS from it. And here in that folder, build PHPCS Joomla, you find the Joomla rules. They are custom. We have no common rules which any other project is using, which is
mostly PSR, but
yeah, mostly.
half a dozen tweaks.
A bit more, I think. So PHPCS code style, big topic nowadays. And if you want your pull request to be merged, it should match the Joomla code style. So now we can put all these things together to automate testing, to automate that as a whole. Because running tests every time on your local machine or on another computer is really, really exhausting. And it's not worth that time. Whenever you can automate something, you should do. And we did automate the tests, and you can do so too. So we're putting all the tests we had together to a big safety net. And we even want more tests, so something like 3, 4, 5, and other updates which went wrong. do not happen again. And as and some patches needed some reversion this year because they changed behavior. And you know we're using semantic versioning in Joomla. So we don't break backwards compatibility for any minor version. Minor version means also all versions of 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. We can only break things with 4.0 or some other version which comes later. So we need that test to actually be sure we don't break half of the internet. That would be nice, but let's say let's say 2.7% of it. So that's what's about. It is about watching every pull request, every change, every commit, which is wending into Joomla. And we're doing a lot on that. As you maybe know, we do 2 human tests actually per pull request. So not even people who own the right to merge code into Joomla itself should do that. Or they don't. They do a pull request too. And then we watch for 2 testers. And then we merge things. So this is a big thing on security. And in reviewing code, we try to find errors. We try to find mistakes before. So this is a nice thing. But we also do automated stuff. And a lot of it. So why do we do it? It's repeatable. It saves you time and money, or in Joomla mostly time, not money, sadly. And we detect these issues early. And so how do we do it? We use software. And we currently have 3 different types of continuous integration systems in Joomla. We have Travis, we have Jenkins, and we have Drone. Travis and Drone are mostly the same. You use a pre-installed Linux server, and in it you run some sort of commands, like our tests. Jenkins does the same, but currently Jenkins is only used for the stats generation, the coverage reports, and some other stuff. And we want to, if it's possible, we want to replace Travis with Drone in some time. Why? Travis became a bit unstable in the last years. Not only for system tests, but also for unit tests. So that's the software you should look out for. It's all, Travis is free for open source projects. For private repositories, you have to pay, and it's not cheap. So, but if you're looking for a self-hosted service where you can test your own test your own extensions, it's Drone you look out for. So this is the result of the testing in Joomla. On every pull request, we have the 3 things. We have the 2 human tests, we have the we have the Drone test, and we have the Travis tests. For Drone, we currently only run the JavaScript tests, and for Travis, we do a lot more. Let's see. This is the result of Travis testing. As you can see, most of them passed. Why? In PHP 5.6, we also run the PHP CS test. So in this, we run on different PHP versions. We run JavaScript tests. We even test already on PHP 7.1 and on HHVM, which is a big topic nowadays. So there's a lot of things done for every pull request. It's a test matrix, and we even want to extend that further. Probably in the beginning of next year, we will have around 20 of different matrices there, when not even more. And you can see they don't take so long. So on Travis, they take around 1 to 3 minutes. Drone is even a bit faster. So everybody who does a pull request can see within some minutes if their code is well written, is well formatted, not well written, but if it still works. So what's the conclusion? We need more tests, a lot of more, because it prevents things which happened with 3.4.7 and a lot of other things. We see errors fast, and we are working hard on get that done more. And everybody is invited to join. So just talk to me or just talk to PHPUnit. We are happy to invite you. We help you setting it up, and we train you on it. We really need contributors on that, a lot, from every side of code. We need integrators. Everyone can contribute something in there, and it makes the product a lot better. So, thank you. Questions?
I'm lazy. I read something about Codeception can autocorrect.
Yes? Yeah, not for Joomla.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I know Michael worked on it, but it's still not ready.
No. In PHP Storm, if you use the code,
Yes.
and you do
And you do the reformatting, yeah.
so it will add
Yeah.
tags to your doc log.
But that's a function of PHP Storm.
Yes.
Actually, PHP CS has the same functionality, but just starting with PHP CS 2, version 2. And we actually in Joomla are still using 1.5.6.
Yeah, but there are two projects working on it.
There are a lot of
One
projects.
inside Joomla and one outside.
Yes.
So
We hope for the best, as always.
one is inside. You can find it.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So say you test, and how do you report the results back to you guys?
I showed that, like that. It's this. If you look at any pull request in Joomla CMS, you see that below any pull request. And if there is an exclamation mark or red X, you see the test failed. And then it will never get merged too. So,
Then you look at the Travis protocol to see.
and then you
where
can click here, for example, and then you can see the output I've shown. Actually, all screenshots I made are made from Travis because of that. It's a web browser interface, and you can actually also follow the test run live with WebSockets. It's a cool stuff. So, any other questions? Okay, thank you.